Keir Starmer is losing it, and for good reason. In a move that sent shockwaves through Westminster, King Charles just handed Nigel Farage the kind of symbolic power and legitimacy that no one in Labour ever dreamed possible. Farage isn't just surging in the polls, he's now become a central figure in the national conversation, backed by the voice of the people and the subtle nod of the monarchy. And Starmer is flipping tables, melting down on live TV, and desperately trying to cling to the illusion of control as Labour crashes in the polls like a doomed aircraft. Let's get this straight. Reform UK, the party they once laughed at, the party the media tried to bury, has obliterated Labour in the latest polling. A 10-point lead, 10 points. Far's party is sitting at 32% while Labour is flailing behind at just 22%. This isn't a surge, it's a political earthquake. The local elections were the final straw. Labour didn't just underperform. They were humiliated. The same voters who handed them massive gains under Jeremy Corbyn now see right through Star's holentrism, his broken promises, and his quiet alliance with the same globalist agenda that's ruined our economy, our borders, and our culture. And as reform rises, the establishment panics. But nothing, and I mean nothing, triggered Starmer more than what happened next. Because while the Labour leader was scrambling to do damage control, King Charles, yes, the King, was quietly reshaping the political landscape. While the media was distracted with royal family drama, cancer treatments, and Prince Harry's whining interviews, Charles did what he does best: operate from the shadows, using soft power and public symbolism to send a message. In his upcoming trip to Canada, the King is planning a historic address. And guess who he's inviting to consult with ahead of the visit? None other than Nigel Farage. That's right. The monarch is leaning into Far's foreign policy instincts. After all, Farage is one of the few British statesmen who can actually speak with credibility about sovereignty, independence, and British pride on the world stage. Sources inside the palace say the King views Farage as a vital voice for national cohesion. And in a time where the political class is fractured and corrupt, Charles wants the world to see that Britain still has leaders who represent the people. You can imagine Star's reaction. According to insider reports, he blew up when the news hit. Furious calls to advisors, shouting matches behind closed doors, panic in the Labour war room. Because this wasn't just a PR loss, it was a royal endorsement of everything Farage stands for. And let's not pretend this is just symbolic. The monarchy still holds immense soft power, especially among the British public. When the King so much as smiles at a politician, it's noticed. When he invites them for royal briefings and soft diplomacy, it sends a clear message. This person matters. And it's not just the King who sees it. The country does, too. Even Shadow Home Secretary Chris Phelps couldn't keep his cool. In a now infamous train wreck interview with Camilla Tominey on GB News, Phelps completely lost his temper. He accused Tominey of jumping down his throat simply because she had the nerve to ask why Far's message is resonating more than Labour's tired talking points. Phelps flailed around trying to smear Farage as someone without a plan while admitting in the same breath that Labour has lost control of our borders and put everyone's taxes up. You couldn't script it better if you tried. Reform isn't just rising. They are dominating. They become the voice of the working class, the middle class, and everyone sick of being talked down to by university-educated elites who've never had to budget a grocery bill or stand in a queue for a GP appointment. And while Starr preaches climate pledges and day nonsense, Farage is offering something real, a nation that works again. The monarchy, always careful to stay above the political fray, has finally blinked. And that blink was toward Nigel Farage. King Charles is no fool. He sees where the winds are blowing. He sees the chaos in Labour, the endless U-turns, the inability to connect with the public, and he sees Farage, a man with a clear vision, a growing mandate, and crucially, the will of the people behind him. Starmer, meanwhile, is becoming the punchline of his own party. Even Tony Blair's allies are pulling the plug, warning that Labour's obsession with net zero and globalist virtue signalling is alienating the very voters they need to win back. The working man has left the building and is marching with Farage. Now, here's where it gets even more brutal. Behind closed doors, Labour insiders are reportedly begging the king not to elevate Farage further with more public visibility. They know what's coming. If the public sees Farage next to royalty, seen as a statesman rather than a rebel, it's game over. And let's face it, that's exactly what's happening. Farage has gone from fringe to front-row runner, from Brexit firebrand to national leader, from outsider to royal advisor. Whether Charles intended it or not, he's handed Farage a crown of legitimacy. This isn't just a political shift. It's a regime change. The old guard is collapsing. The spineless centrists and their media puppets are being replaced by real opposition with real principles. And as the king embraces his role as the sovereign leader on the world stage, he knows he needs allies who actually believe in Britain, not technocrats like Starmer who treat the country like a social experiment. So yes, Keir Starmer is flipping out because he knows that when reform takes power, when Farage walks into number 10 with a public mandate and a royal handshake, there will be a reckoning. The elites laughed at Farage. The media mocked him. The Labour Party ignored him. Now they're all watching helplessly as he becomes the most powerful political force in Britain, with the king nodding quietly from behind the curtain. This is the moment the establishment feared, and it's already too late to stop it. So here we are, May 2025, and karma is preparing to drag Britain backwards. Forget the promises, forget the slogans, forget the will of 17.4 million people, because Labour is laying the groundwork for a full-blown Brexit betrayal. Brace yourselves. The so-called reset of UK-EU relations. It's nothing more than a thinly veiled surrender. Behind closed doors, Whitehall officials are copying the Swiss model. Yes, Switzerland, the one that agreed to accept EU rules, hand over money to Brussels, and in return, they got limited access to the EU single market. That's the game plan now. Capitulate, pay up, and play by their rules. And don't think this is just about trade. This is about sovereignty, about democracy. Starmer is preparing to sign us up to permanent alignment with EU rules, starting with agriculture. But you and I both know it won't stop there. Once you open that door, the EU will push it wider inch by inch. Our laws, our standards, our freedoms sold off in return for bureaucratic handshakes and diplomatic smiles. And what's the excuse? According to Starmer, the public has moved on from Brexit. That's right. He thinks you've forgotten that you're too tired, too distracted, too disillusioned to care anymore. He says we should look forward, not back. But make no mistake, what he's really saying is, forget the referendum. Forget what you voted for. We know better. This is not a reset. This is a rollback, a quiet, calculated unraveling of Brexit under the guise of pragmatism. But the backlash is already building. Brexiteers are calling this for what it is, a betrayal. Reform UK is sharpening its claws. Even within Labour's own ranks, advisers are terrified of how this will play in the Red War. The very Heartland star needs to cling on to power. They are not buying this Brussels love fest. They remember 2016. They remember the lies, the fear-mongering, and the long battle to take back control. And here's the kicker. While Starmer is busy rolling out the red carpet for EU bureaucrats, he's putting our trade deal with the United States at risk. Tory MPs have warned that aligning ourselves with EU rules again could torpedo negotiations with Washington. That means fewer opportunities, more red tape, and a Prime Minister who thinks playing both sides as leadership. You can't serve two masters, not Brussels and Britain, not EU alignment and sovereign independence. And just when you think it couldn't get more cynical, we discover that Starmer's government has set up a surrender squad inside Whitehall. That's what it's called, the Surrender Squad. Their job, not to negotiate, not to defend Britain's interests, but to prepare the terms of capitulation before the summit even begins. May 19th is the date to watch. That's when Starmer will host what insiders are already calling the Surrender Summit. Dressed up in diplomatic niceties, but every bit a moment of reckoning. So, let's call this what it is. A full-scale backdoor re-entry into EU control. A betrayal of Brexit, of democracy, and of every voter who believed in taking our country back. Keir Starmer may think this is his moment to shine on the world stage, but for millions of us, it's a moment of bitter déjà vu. Britain voted out.